Good morning, boys and girls. Today we are looking at Lesson 22, Session 1. This is on page 505. So grab your pencil and open your book to Lesson 22, page 505. We are going to be looking at two variable relationships. So we had been in the previous lessons talking about how to solve for one variable. And now we're going to see how they relate to each other when you have two. So here's the story. Hiroko makes amigurumi animals for her cousins. The instructions for making an amigurumi fox say to crochet the stitches in a row and then join the ends to make a round. How can Hiroko use the round number to determine the number of stitches in that round? Let's take a look over on the right. It says round 1 is 6 stitches. Round 2 to 7. Increase the number of stitches in the previous round by 6. So that's going to be the key to solving this. So we need to know, how can we figure out the round, how can I use the round number to help me figure out how many stitches are going to be in that round. So I want you to stop the video, use the information we know, maybe make a table to see what the relationship could be. Okay. Hopefully, if you wrote this down, you may have seen a pattern. So if I said, well, round 1, I'm going to do round 1, I have 6 stitches. Round 2, I have the 6 plus 6, or 2 times 6. Round 3, I have 6 more than the previous, so I have 6 plus 6 plus 6, which is the same as 3 times 6. Round 4, it's going to follow the same pattern. Is equal to 4 times 6. So I wonder if you realized that if I took the round number and multiplied it by 6, it would tell me how many stitches would be in that round. So you could have done multiply the round by 6. You could have done also like made a table where you had the round and the stitches. And if I had round 1, I had 6 stitches. Round 2, I had 12 stitches. Round 3, I had 18 stitches. 4, I have 24. So again, hopefully you can see the pattern of what's happening from the round to the number of stitches. So now let's go ahead and look at the next page, 506. The question, how can Hiroko use the number of the round to determine the number of stitches in a round of her fox pattern? Explain how you know. Well, we can multiply the round by 6, and the number of stitches in each round. When you found the number of stitches in each round, you saw that the number of stitches is always 6 times the round number. So you could just write, again, multiply round number by 6. And number 2, look ahead. In Hiroko's pattern, the number of stitches in a round depends on the round number. An equation in two variables is one way to represent the relationship between the two quantities. The value of the dependent variable depends on the value of the independent variable. This is going to be really important to understand. So what depends on what? So you think about, do the number of stitches depend on the round, or does the round depend on the number of stitches? So we're going to be thinking about situations like that. In this first one, a store sells kits for making amigurumi animals. Each kit costs $15. The equation C equal 15 times K can be used to determine the cost C of the K kits. In this situation, is C or K the dependent variable? And explain. So in other words, does the cost depend on how many kits I buy, or do the number of kits depend on the cost? And you should have thought that the dependent variable is the cost. It's C. Because the total cost depends on the number of kits I buy. The total cost depends on the number of kits. Okay, another way to show this, K is equal to C divided by 15. So when you saw C is equal to 15 times K, if I want to get K by itself, I'm going to do what I do to one side, I do to the other. So I'm going to divide by 15, divide by 15. That cancels that out. So K is equal to the cost divided by 15. In this situation, is K, C or K the dependent variable? So the equation K equal the cost divided by 15 can be used to find the number of kits K when you can buy with C dollars. So in this situation, the answer would be K. K is what is depending on the cost divided by 15. So the number of kits depends on the amount of money. You divide the amount of money by 15 to find the number of kits. And part C. How are the equations in problems 2A and 2B alike? How are they different? Stop and think about that. How are they alike? They both use K for the number of kits and C for the total cost of the kits. They both show the relationship between K and C. So both show relationship between the kits and the cost. How are they different? The equation in problem 2A shows how to use K to find C when we multiplied K by 15. And the equation in problem 2B shows how to use C to find K, where you divide by 15. I'm not going to have you write that down. Reflect. Hiroko and her cousins have $45 to spend on kits. Which equation do you think they would use to find the number of kits they can buy? Why? So hopefully you're going to do kits is equal to 45 divided by 15, because the cost is the cost is what we already know. They know the value for C. That's $. You're given the value for C, so therefore this solution would work. All right, let's go to the next page. We're just going to do the beginning part with you before you are to do your assignment. Think about what you know about variables, expressions, and equations. Fill in each box. Use words, numbers, and pictures. Show as many ideas as you can. So I'm going to help guide you on this a little bit. When we think of variables, and they ask for, 6 different examples of a variable. So, of course, we know variables are represented by letters. So it could be X or Y or B and B. It could be any letters that are representing it. You could also have expressions. You can copy this down. Expressions such as 3x is an expression with a variable, or n plus 8 is an expression. You can have equations with variables. For example, you could have 3x is equal to 12. So again, that's where we're using the variable. You could have formulas. For example, the area of a triangle. Area is equal to 1/2 the base times the height. So when we were doing finding area, you were using variables to represent in the equation of finding area. And you can evaluate, which means to solve, evaluate. For example, n plus 5, if n is equal to 6, then you would substitute 6 plus 5, and you would get the answer of 11. One last one, you can solve an equation within a variable. So let's say we said n plus 5 equal 18. I subtract 5 from both sides, and I get n equal 13. All right, so now you are going to finish on page 507, number 2, and the problems number 3, A and B. And that is all of your assignment for today.